Welcome to another episode of Is There More, the show that uncovers how successful creators turn their darkest moments into deeper connections and creative breakthroughs. This episode is brought to you by Dialogue Life Skills, the world's scalable solution to the youth mental health crisis. If you want to be one of 300 creators who learn to dialogue for free in 2025, comment dialogue below or DM at Is There More World on Instagram. Today's guests are Nick and Stephanie Sims, partners in life, marriage, and mission. For 25 years, they've weathered career pivots, financial stress, medical challenges with their daughter, and the everyday chaos of raising 3 kids, all while staying committed to their love and their growth. Stephanie currently serves as the Director of Development for the city of Anna, just outside Dallas, where she leads with heart and vision. Nick is a seasoned technology and operations expert with experience at major companies like Target, Best Buy, Scottrade, Whirlpool, Abbott, and now Creators Capital. Together, they bring both strategy and soul to everything they touch. If you've ever asked yourself what lasting love really looks like, this connection might just change the way you see it. I'm your host, Megan A. Tully, and I'm listening. What's up? How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Happy
How are
Sunday.
you? Yeah, happy Sunday.
Doing good. We had Natalia over yesterday to Creator House Dallas. She was so sweet and so good. Like, she was so good on camera. I was really impressed with her.
When Jackson was marrying me, it felt new because no one's ever done that to me before. But it felt like someone actually cared about what I was saying and was interested in it. The scar on my chest is about my heart condition because when I was a baby, they had to open up my chest and do something surgical, but it's been there with me my whole entire life. And whenever someone sees it, I'm just telling the story about what happened.
So can you each introduce yourselves and then just tell me a little bit of background about you individually, and then we'll get into some more relationship stuff.
So Nick Sims. I am a technology executive. I've been exec for over 20 years now. And now recently stepping into the COO role for Creators Capital and the work that we do. Excited about that work and looking forward to pressing forward with what we're doing with Dialogue Life Skills and helping out the live creators and mentors and investors and pressing forward with that. So excited for it.
Absolutely. And we are loving you. We are loving to have you on board, Nick. So you've been great so far, and your and Jackson's collaboration has been inspiring for me to watch as well and be influenced by you as a mentor. So I really appreciate all the time you've already put into Creators Capital and helping us get our company organized.
Yeah. So it's been cool. And on the personal side, right? We've been married 20,
almost 25
years.
Wow.
This would be 25.
Wow.
So we got 3 kids. So you met Natalia.
Yep.
Ava is our oldest daughter, and then our oldest son is Troy. So
Natalia, Ava, and Troy.
Yep, Natalia, Ava, Troy.
Gotcha. 2 girls, 1 boy.
I'm Stephanie Scott Sims, and I'm Nick's wife. And I am I work in municipal government and have been doing that for almost 20 years now, maybe. And we're both originally from Michigan and are living in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Whoa, you're both from Michigan. How did you guys meet?
We met in college.
Met at Michigan State.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Wow.
Yeah, well,
story.
What's the meet cute?
Yeah, I think we were about in our junior years, and we at Michigan State, and we worked in the dorms.
Oh, wow.
As what they call minority aides. I don't know that they still have those, but they were aides that worked for the university to kind of like a RA, but they were specifically geared toward helping the minority students kind of excel and be successful in school and while living in the dorms there. And we worked together in the dorm, and that's how we met.
Wow. So you work together. You had mutual values right off the bat.
Yeah, yeah.
We did. Yeah, we did.
No, she napped me. I was out having fun, and she napped me. No, but no, but it was good. I think the minority aid work. That was my second year, I think, as an aide, um, and that was really good work, right? Because minority students at a predominantly white institution need a little bit more help and support because many of them they come up there for the first year and then they struggle with issues, and they end up leaving campus, right? So the purpose of those minority aids is to basically help provide a community for them, so they can make it, right? So these are Asian students, Black students, Hispanics, right? So Native American, you're really just kind of looking out for that community and trying to keep them at the university, right? Helping them sort of go work through the issues that they work through and in order to graduate. So yeah, we were both in Wilson Hall at Michigan State, and it was great.
So you both had a leadership role at a pretty early age, because keeping people in school, I don't imagine that to be too easy of a job, you know. Tell me about how leadership and like maybe since you're both clearly leaders, how does that kind of play out in your relationship, or how did that play out in your relationship moving through college, out of college? Did you guys like get together right away? Did you stay together? Like what happened next?
Yeah, so we started dating and we were together about 4 years. So after, and then we got married. So I would say Nick is definitely a leader, always has been. We're both in a fraternal organization, fraternity, sororities. We were both, have been leaders in that respect through those organizations, doing work. And then, of course, Nick always had other things going on, always. He was always a member of all kinds of organizations and always taking up leadership roles. And sometimes it became, kind of stressful for our relationship because Nick in particular always had something going on, always something going on. And that takes a lot of time
Yeah.
and energy. And we've had to have multiple discussions through the years about Nick kind of slowing down and like refocusing, like prioritizing what's important, like what needs to be focused on versus what you would like to be doing. And so, yeah, it can be challenging for sure.
I would say that prioritization still happens. I'm not sure I've changed much. I think my personality is to be go go go. I typically operate at 110%, and that's what I do. So yeah, I think during college, we definitely started to understand a little bit more about our styles and how we work, and stuff's right. I had to make different choices, and do different prioritization. But I think that also happened over a period of time, and as I started with, it still happens, right? It's a constant thing. As life changes, as things change, you move, kids, etc. It's a constant thing. So
Okay, so let me see if I got that. So you both are leaders, in your own right. Stephanie, you feel like you maybe do a little bit less of the, participating in different organizations and, the go go go. You're more like focused or less things going on. Nick is a little bit more of like the one you would see at the pub, no, just the one you would see in the different organizations and doing a bunch of different things at once. The go, 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 110%, you said, Nick. And through the years, you just really had to have conversations and talk about what is priority to both of you, to the relationship. And so really it's just an ongoing process of prioritizing what the relationship needs and what you need to, survive, not only survive, but thrive and in your family unit.
Yeah, I would say, Megan, that early on, before we had kids, it was much easier, obviously, to be involved in
Mhm.
a lot of different things, and much easier for me to accept that Nick was involved in a lot of different things. As we got older and started really adulting, if you will, and having to have a full-time job and out in the real world, and then having children, um, that really slowed me down, because I felt like I was more, you know, I needed to be the one who kept more balance, like I have, in the household and taking care of household things. And I think that's where some of the strife that we've had has come into play. Is um, I think sometimes, Nick likes to be involved in things, and I get that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes we've had challenges with, well, it's great that you want to do that today, but like the grass needs to be cut, or like, we need
Mm.
to go grocery shopping, or these things need to happen at home too. There's things so that need to happen with at home or with the kids. So just keeping that balance it's challenging, and we've had our challenges, but I think we do pretty well now. But it's taken time for sure.
Through that time that was taken, because it seems like you kind of like prioritize, this needs to be done around the house, and almost are the leader of the delegation of the house task, right? And so what
Yeah.
over time, what do you think has gotten you, like, why has it taken time, and what happened throughout that period of time that sort of allowed it to become easier?
Well, I think it's taken a long time because I would get, um, as a younger person, I would get very frustrated with um, Nick and having to kind of um, vie for his attention,
Mm.
versus, it felt like, if it used to feel like he's kind of, it was either like he was spending more time doing these other things than doing the things that I felt like were a priority.
Mhm.
And I think over time, changes, like Nick has changed a little bit, where I think he understands that more and tries not to do that. And then I've also changed over time, and I still see some of these things as a priority, but I also realize it's okay if, he's doing something else and maybe I'm picking up the slack. And then there are times when he picks up the slack, and because I have things going on. Um, so we both have changed. I think we both have matured, and just our expectations for one another have kind of changed with time.
Okay, so you both kind of came each other's way a little bit, and then that
Yeah.
that brought maturity, and then your expectations also changed with each other over time. Did I get that?
Yes.
Nick, do you want to add, is there more to that, Nick?
Uh, no, I would agree. I think the things that I would add are just, um, repetition and obstacles and time have provided opportunities for us to get better at it, right? We've been together for a long time. And after each kid, right? And it presents opportunities to figure things out. Or it's not like these activities are something that is constant. Things change, right? So there's just this constant rhythm of opportunities or things that kind of get thrown our way. And as you're hearing the feedback, I'm hearing feedback, and you got to respond to that, right? So I definitely haven't been stagnant, um, but we've both changed. I think we've kind of grown into where we are today, and I probably still got some more changing to do. So we'll,
We
we will.
always do.
And that's another thing, is like, we have to, realize that neither one of us is perfect, and, give each other grace. And sometimes I have not always been easy, like that has not always been easy for me.
Mm.
As have, you know, I as I've gotten older, my outlook has changed. And so I am, I think, more considerate or more of, letting Nick be who he is, but then also just giving grace, like kind of sometimes it's not even worth the argument or being frustrated about, like, just let's just keep on moving because we have too much going on to let this get in the way.
Nice. So Nick, you wanted to add like the repetition aspect, and then Stephanie on top of that, the choose your battles wisely, because not everything is worth the argument. Not only that, but like you guys both have a lot going on, so it's better to keep moving than to let the frustration take over and like stop you in your tracks, basically. So you guys have been together for 25 years. When did you start having kids?
Let's see, we got married in 2000. We had so 4 years after we got married is when we
Okay.
had Troy.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll be 21 this year.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's crazy. 21. Whoa.
Yeah.
Crazy times. So you've been experienced parents for a very long time. You met 4 years before you started having kids. I'm assuming there's a lot of things and a lot of relationships that change your relationship together along the way. But is there one relationship that both of you have that kind of stood out as the relationship that shaped who you are as a couple today?
The period of time when uh, when we first learned that Natalia was going to be born, was definitely transformational. It was an event. Um, and After learning about that event, which created a lot of joy and excitement, but it also created for several years a lot of obstacles and things that we needed to get through. So it was a period of um, joy, trials, tribulations, um, changes, and we came through strong on the other side. But it was definitely a challenging period.
When you had Natalia, when you found out you were going to have Natalia, you were very excited. But then going forward, there was a lot of trials and challenges that came along with that. Tell me about some of those challenges. Like what were the challenges?
We had our two children. We had a boy and a girl, and we thought, this is it. Like, two kids, we're kind of good. And then when we found out I was pregnant again, it was definitely a surprise, because Natalia and Ava are only 3 years apart. So it was kind of like, it felt almost like back to back. But, we were very excited about it and everything. During my pregnancy, we found out that there was something wrong with her heart. And so that was really difficult because you don't, ever envision having like something wrong with your child when you just think that every pregnancy, your pregnancy is going to be easy peasy. It's going to be, you're going to come out with, a healthy child, and you're just going to go along your merry way. And that was not the case. And so, to learn that there was something wrong was very devastating, and made it very uncertain because we didn't know exactly what it was going to look like after she was born. Like, is she going to be okay? It was a very we already knew it was going to be a very rocky time. And so she had to have multiple surgeries after she was born. They went well, but there were definitely some road bumps, during some of those hospitalizations. And I think that really, I think that really maybe brought us closer as a couple. on top of all that, we were having some financial issues as well. I had to stop working so that I could be with Natalia because she couldn't go to like daycare, like, our
Mhm.
other two had been able to do. Nick was going through some things at his job. Um, and so it was a really challenging period. I mean, it was the first time in my life where we had to kind of rely on others, rely on help from other organizations and things like that to help us to kind of get through financially. We had hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical bills at the same time. So it was, and then, it was just a really challenging time. We were living away from where we grew up. So we weren't in Michigan, we were in another state. And being away from your support network also kind of made it much harder. Um, when you felt very alone. And so I think that brought us as a couple closer to one another and being able to say, we got this, we can get through this together. As long as we stick together, we can do this. And so, yeah, I think that's really helped us.
Okay, so you found out that you're gonna have a baby, but then you found out she had a heart condition or something was wrong with her heart. So that
Yeah.
was like boom, one thing. Then you were having to stay home with her because she couldn't go to regular daycare. So you had to quit working. So then every financial obligation went on to Nick. Then then you also had to had trouble with paying for all the medical bills. And so you had to rely on other people and organizations for the first time ever to kind of help you get through that period of time. And you were not anywhere near your support system.
Yes.
Wow.
When we first found out about Natalia uh, being born, I was working at Target at the time,
Okay.
and then things were okay, and I actually shifted from Target to working for Best Buy. It was an opportunity. It was a promotion, um, and I moved over to that company. And while that was happening, right, all of this was happening around that, right? So I had just left, and I was very stable at Target. Target was
Mhm.
good, everything was awesome, right? But I had an opportunity to take a promotion, which I'm thinking, okay, more money, this third kid, that was a surprise, right?
Yeah.
So we went after that. But uh, during that process, Natalia was born. We started to have all these challenges with surgeries. Um, we still had Troy and Ava, right? And these other two kiddos need parents, right? So we needed to be there for them, but that also meant that we needed to be in the hospital with this young kiddo, right? So we went through periods of time where we're sleeping in the hospital. I mean, I remember sleeping multiple days in the hospital, right? I mean,
Wow.
for 2 months. I
Going to
remember
work.
living in the hospital. Stephanie would come give me breaks because I took on the primary sleeping in the hospital role and needed breaks from that, right? So all of this is happening while I'm at a new job, basically. I only been at this new role for 9 months, right?
Wow.
And that created some stressors, I think, on that for that new company and that period of time. And all the while, almost about a year into that new role, I got laid off. I got laid off from Best Buy. And Stephanie kind of told you to one side about, her having to sort of pull back. And then now both of us are actually unemployed. Uh, at the same time, as all of this is happening, um,
You guys are
I
gonna
mean,
make me cry.
yeah,
That's
we did a lot of it.
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But there was definitely a lot that's happening. We had our own financial challenges and things that we needed to do to help get out of this. People we didn't even know, random people were helping us,
Yeah.
giving us money.
Get a
We had
fundraiser.
fundraisers to kind of work through this, Ronald McDonald houses, and all kinds of
Oh,
stuff,
good.
right? Like happening.
Yeah.
Um, but I just wanted to add in a little bit of that, right? Because it was a lot. It did bring us together.
Yeah.
Not only us as a couple, I think, but just overall as a family. Uh,
Mhm.
sure that there were things that Troy and Ava needed and learned, and but it definitely sort of brought us together. And we ended up leaving that state and moving because of that. Because one, Stephanie needed to stay home or at least be available
Mhm.
for Natalia, and then I needed to find work.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it was a major transition, a major financial hole that took many, 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 many years in order for us to kind of get out of that.
Mm.
Um, it was a process.
So sleeping in hospitals for weeks, getting relief from Stephanie, transitioning to a new job at Best Buy, but then getting laid off within the first year, to both being unemployed, to then really having to rely on, people in the community, and then moving to
Mhm.
to find new work, all kind of at the same time. And then you both said it brought you closer together. Well, I can imagine it did because it's like, wow, all you have is each other. Like, not really, it's brought your family closer together too, you said, but that is a very challenging time to go through with one another. So I'm really happy you did get through it, and to see you guys on the other side of that, and that you both say that it did bring you closer together is really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was there any, like, did you guys find yourself having more conflicts during that time or less, because it's just like, okay, we just need to keep going, like.
I think there were definitely conflicts because it's frustrating. It's a frustrating time. It's very stressful, and little things can set you off. And I always feel like whenever the finances are not right in your household, it makes for a very, very stressful time. Um, any other things can be going on, and of course that's stressful, but finances is really like the foundation of everybody's relationship when you're in a relationship. And so it makes you very irritable, and just frustrated with one another, blaming one another for, you know, maybe poor life decisions or even stuff that just might not even be their fault, but you feel
Yeah.
like you need to blame them for something. Um, so I would say probably, yeah. Like, I don't remember specifically, but it was, I'm sure that we were probably arguing as well and going through chaos.
I love that you shared, finances are the foundation of every relationship, and it gets harder when that's on a rocky foundation. So kind of blaming each other for things that might not even necessarily be true or relevant, just because you feel like you need somebody to blame. That's so real.
Yes.
Um, Nick, is there more you want to add to that?
When I think about that period of time too, um, there's also a balance though. So
Mm-hmm.
I agree 100% with what Stephanie is talking about as far as these things that escalate conversations and make things heated. But on the flip side of that, we had a little one that needed us in a really, really big way.
Mm-hmm.
And first few years of life were really, really challenging. Like basic things like getting her to eat was a whole process, right? Like we started out with feeding tubes. She couldn't eat like a normal kid, right? So we went through a whole process with that, and then getting to a point where she was off the feeding tube and starting to like die down off of all of these like 9 different medicines, and then starting to like see those be reduced, and we found, what was it, hummus as like the first thing. Like there was like these little, to me, these little wins, right, that we were having in the midst of all these other things. And not to mention, the first few years of life are really, especially for someone with the type of heart defect that she had, we didn't know how long that she would live.
Oh, true.
Like that was not a given. Like I remember kiddos that she were in the hospital with that not everybody makes it.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the background, you have not knowing how long you're going to have with this new little one that you're fighting for. So I also think that while we had some challenges with finances and other things, it also provided focus for us to come together, and we did. And we started to focus on these little wins and other things that are happening. And again, very trying. There were multiple surgeries. It wasn't like the year one we had one surgery. We had to wait a year and for her to get older to actually have more surgery. So there was like over a period of almost 3 years, there were multiple things. It was a phased process. So you have these other surgeries, but next thing you know, you're going back into the hospital for a major surgery again. And then it takes steps back. You have to sort of things different happening. So it was a process. And it's almost like you forget these things because you're not talking about it, and we're like moved on. But it was that period of time as well, I also think provided focus. It brought us together, and we had many different little wins, where those little wins then can die down some of that financial problems or some of these other things that we're arguing about. It's like, well, that was really important because we just had this little small win, right? So I just wanted to provide the balance of, yes, we had these other things that we were arguing about, but then when you get oh my goodness, Natalia's able to eat apples. Right? Like when over a year that she hasn't been able to do these things, you had these other wins. And I think it made some of it worth it to get past something. Like, are we going to get past something? And, year after year, after things started to die down, when our medicines died down and things started to die down, you start to get to a point where, like, oh my goodness, we're almost living a normal life now. Like a normal, like it's not as crazy anymore, So I just want to provide a little bit of balance of things that I remember during that period of time.
Yeah.
Although it was challenging, you had like, it's kind of like a problem, not a problem, but you had something you were both working on that needed to like be fixed or get better. And so you had little wins together, and it almost became like the thing you were working on, Natalia's health and, literal survival, because you didn't know if she was going to make it past 1 year or 2 years. Those became kind of bigger. The wins became bigger than the setbacks or the arguments or whatever else was going on. And then like over time, you had more wins. Natalia could eat an apple or hummus or whatever it was. And that was huge. And it kind of brought you closer together. The more you won together, the more you were able to get through the challenges. You came closer together, and now you're even looking back thinking like, oh wow, I didn't even, I almost didn't even remember we even went through all that because it's so different now. Two sides of the same coin, but absolutely like both it's like they work together to get you where you are today, which is really, really cool.
I would say too that I think that one of the things that has kept us kind of going through all these years and all of these different issues and little, road bumps and challenges is just that I think we started off on a very firm foundation. Nick and I have always been close, even before we had kids, before we got married. It was just me and him. And I mean, we have a lot of love for one another. And always have, I won't say always have put each other first, because sometimes that does not always occur, unfortunately. But for the most part, I think we do. Like, we try to keep ourselves, our relationship in the forefront. And again, it is hard to do that when you start having kids and other things start coming into play. But I think our love and devotion to one another has always been very strong. And so those things, that has kept us really going, even in our down times, at our hard times. And I always say that I can't really see myself being without Nick. Like, I don't feel like that's an option. And I don't, as many times as I get upset with him, or we argue, and I still feel like, like he is my rock. And I can't see myself being without him. And so that has kept us going.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's, for all the things that Stephanie complains about with me, and I know that I can be frustrating because I mentioned 110%, right? Like, that's not going to go away. Anybody that knows me and gets close to me, you start to see how, like how it works. But at the same time, there's no way that I could do some of these things without her. Like, it wouldn't be possible, right? So I think we just have to really have a good balance and, appreciate really the things that she does, which is really important. Like, there's things that we do for each other that's important that we wouldn't be able to do together. And because we're together, we're able to do more. We're able to actually do a lot more because we're together, and it's better off. If I was doing these things my own way, I probably have fallen down in a number of different areas, and things wouldn't work right? So I think just understanding that and being okay with our different styles and differences, and then also compromising. I definitely can't be the same Nick that I was before I met her. I'm a new Nick because of how we're together. So I've had to compromise, and she's, I'm sure, had to compromise, but we're have adjusted over time to each other, and I think it's made it better. So I agree. Like, it's everybody in life gets thrown with all of these different things. Like, we all get thrown with different things, right? But to battle with someone that's battling with you, and is really important.
Yeah.
If this conversation moved you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that real love and growth is possible, even in the hardest seasons. Nick and Stephanie reminded us that true commitment isn't about just staying, it's about evolving together. If you want to learn how to have deeper, more connected relationships in your own life, drop the word dialogue below in the comments, or follow and DM at Is There More World on Instagram. I'm Megan A. Tully, and this has been Is There More with Nick and Stephanie Sims. Thanks for listening.